Hi everyone, welcome. It's Ryan Cooper here from the London Craftsman channel. How's it going? Nearly fell over there. Today I'm going to be showing you how to edge a curve. And we've got these drawer fascias that we're doing right now. And this is what we are trying to achieve. Something along those lines. And you can see what these components are. They're the drawer fronts. We made them out of oak veneer. I just thought it was a bit more stable than using solid. By the time you've taken the chunk out of the solid, they want it to twist and warp. That was my theory anyway. Budget also had something to do with it. And we've got a nice piece now, but unfortunately we've got this MDF internal part. Obviously it's oak veneered MDF. So we need to cover this. This is all MDF. So yeah, today's video is all about edging the inside of this fascia cutout, but more so concentrating on this curve. So if that floats your boat, you want to find out more, but stay tuned, watch to the end, and I hope you enjoy. Right, so before I start, we are so close to 30,000 subscribers. We're on 29,860, I believe. So if you want to subscribe, you like our content, firstly, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button. So thank you very much. Let's crack on with the video. So today we are edging using oak veneer and it's pre-glued. This edging is 22mm because we've got a piece of 19mm oak veneer, so it's perfect. Just gives you a nice little lip, just enough to clean up right at the end. So my theory is with this edging, it could be wrapped around, and once it comes back round, we're gonna overlap this joint and then just get a Stanley knife and cut that joint and then pull away the little offcuts and then glue them back down to give us a nice joint. But we are putting that joint on the top face. So if I show you a done one, which is this one, this is the top. You can see the rebate of the drawer there. We decided the less seen place is here at the top. You can see a little joint there. So that is where we have put the joint of the edging. Obviously it's got to butt up to each other at some point. That is our starting point, basically. That's what I wanted to show you. So I've rotated it in the right position. So it's basically upside down. So what I've done is I've just rigged up a few clamps, put a piece of timber to the bench and then clamped the fascia to the timber. I've also found my halfway point of the fascia and I've got my iron and I've ironed this on and flattened it down with my hand sandpaper after or during ironing. So I'm at that point now where we are on the curve, and what I've done here is simply got a hot air gun. It's not any old hot air gun. This one is off my iron-on edger, and it's the Veritex AG98F. I was quite chuffed because I was thinking to myself, where do I get a hot air gun? I was going to ask around and borrow one or even buy a cheap one. But then I looked at this and I thought, how can I take that section off? Because obviously this gets fixed to the hot air gun and it just came off with 4 screws. So I was really, really chuffed with that. It's got 2 heat settings and it's got the thin nozzle, which is perfect. And also if you have one of these anyway, it's good for just servicing and cleaning the tip if any gunk and glue gets caught in there. But anyway, now we're on that, I'm simply just going to use the hot air of the hot air gun and just give it a little go over and then just freehand just go around with the sandpaper just to firm it on. So we're just going to do half of this curve at a time. Once that's done and we firmed it down, then we'll just flip it over and we'll do the other half of that and then we'll start on the straight. So there we go, we've got it in place roughly, and I'm just going to pull it back until it's pushed the edging into position and just going to hold it nice and still, get my sandpaper to hand. And yeah, I'm happy with that. Make sure the overlap all the way around is correct. And then I'm just going to put it on setting number 2. So I'm only going to do half of this radius at a time. It's really powerful this, so you don't want to go too mad. You can always go over it again. Okay, while it's hot, firm it down, also firm it down at the edges. There we go. Happy with that? So that's one done. I should really flip that around, but I think I can manage to do this sort of upside down, the same technique. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that one once more. But before I start, I'm just making sure that I push it in as tight as I can into that radius. Don't want any gaps once it's glued. I'm just trying to go all the way up to the start of the straights. That makes sense. Because the iron doesn't really touch any of the curves at all. Right, let's get that firmed down before it dries, before it cools, shall I say. Yeah, when you do this, also go over the corners. Yeah, I think I'm happy with that. Well, we got no support on this bit here, so I don't really want to let this go until it's cooled down a bit, otherwise it's going to pull it off. Yeah, there we go, that's one curve done. So I'm going to flip it round now. So yeah, now I've done that curve, let's unclamp it and flip it round. And then we'll just get the iron from this radius onwards. So these ratchet clamps are really, really handy. They're from Banggood and they are Bessie copies, I believe. And they're just stupidly cheap. If you want to have a look at any of these bits that I'm using, they're probably in my links. Look how nice that is to use. Beautiful. Let's turn that iron on, get it hot before we start using it. Luckily, we just about fit in here, so look, that's quite handy. If we didn't, I think my next port of call would be to just using the edger in this space, same technique. And most people do use a block to rub down. I quite like using a bit of freehand paper because I can feel it. I can feel it with my thumb, what I'm pushing down on. Whereas if you're using a block, I sometimes find that it just doesn't give you that nice flat edging. Sometimes you see a gap here or there. I'll probably just do half at a time. You've got to sort of feel with the iron that it's in the right position and it's flat. Just give it a little rock. Sometimes we use brown paper, so if you feel like it's burning, you're either going too slow, or you've got your iron too hot. You know, as long as you move it quick enough. But I know I'm putting pressure right on each corner, just to make sure it's closed up there. Yeah, and I'm happy there. And let's just crack on and just do this last half until we get to the radius once more. Use your fingers on your left hand just to gauge it. Just make sure that you've got the right overhang on the edging, both sides, and it's not twisting on you. Also, when you're working, just make sure you've got your tools to hand. So, for example, if you didn't have your sandpaper there and you had to go and look for it, it would have cooled down. And yeah, I mean, we're on the homeward straight here. We're just going to get this curve done now in the same technique, really. All right, so let's go and get this edger once more and go for it. We're going to push down here to close it again. Speed 2. You can see it's hot. Can you see the red glow? This uses some juice, this one. But I've got the solar panels at the moment. Yeah, in this energy crisis, everyone's paying high prices for their electricity, whereas I've got the solar panels on the roof, so that sort of powers the workshop, which is really handy. The only thing I really want is a set of batteries, so when I'm not using the electricity, at least I can store it for night time. When it comes to trimming this up, my technique generally is using a scraper. Do you know all those metal plates that you get for taking scratches out of solid wood? And that is what I use. I don't really use a chisel. There are 1,000 ways of taking the edging off, but I find a scraper is a really, really good, easy way. I have got a video, it's pretty old, and I'll put the description-y thingy up the top now, so have a look at the top of the screen to show you my technique of how I clean up edging. It's really quick and it's quite fun actually. Right, let's do the rest of this curve. All right, so that's plenty. I can see the glue is melting around the outside of the lip. Let's quickly put that down and get it firmed down while it's nice and hot. Like I said, you might want to just hold it in places every now and then while it's cooling down to give it a helping hand. Beautiful, we've got a nice looking curve there. All right, so far this is what we got, and it's starting to look really good. So to simply do this part, I'm just gonna edge or glue that edging all the way up to about 1 centimetre from this joint. Once that's done, I can then just cut with a Stanley knife across 2 of these pieces at the same time, remove the offcuts that come out, then heat up the rest. Job done. So there we go, we've heated that up. Let's go and firm it down. There we go. So that is what we've got. We've got an overlap there and we've just finished it 1 inch short of the joint. And then what we're gonna do is just gonna get a Stanley knife and cut through both pieces. This top offcut should then come off, and so should this inside one. And then we can just finish off and glue the remaining. So I'm just going to go over with a few light passes. I'm not going to go mad because I don't want to scuff anything up. I've removed that offcut and I've removed that offcut from the inside, and there is our joint. So it's still a little bit loose here. Turn the iron on once more and put a bit of heat on that joint, and then it's job done. Lovely, that's nice and hot. I think we're nearly there. Let's unclamp it and show you what we got. So there we go, I'm pretty happy with the way that's turned out. There's the joint, just there, I hope you can see. And by the time it's oiled and it's upside down, that's the front of the fascia. The highest one is about my shoulder height. So you're never even gonna see any of the joints whatsoever. The main thing was to get a nice continuation on all these curves. And I think that's exactly what we've got. So like I said, if you want to know how to clean it up, just watch the video up in the top, because that gives you a good insight on what tool to use, and I prefer this method from using any other tools. But apart from that, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Remember, if you don't have one of these, which you probably don't, you don't need to go as overkill as this. You could just buy yourself a hot air gun with a nozzle. Anyone's got an old iron, and if you don't have an old one, just use your mum's one. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, try and get us to 30,000. Leave a comment if you can, because that's good for the YouTube algorithm, etc, etc. Other than that, guys, thanks for watching. Have a good rest of the day. Ciao for now.